I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders.
You always hear about, slavery, or you read about it, but once being in that exact place that, where it happened at, it's something different. You feel it, you see it, it's like you visualizing what really happened.
Whitney Plantation is the only plantation here that is told from the perspective of the enslaved.
For the museum, we went to the Whitney Plantation. We were mostly learning about the lives of slaves on the sugar cane field, and what they do. So we visited the houses where they cooked. We visited the big house. We were learning about, we saw like the memoirs and stuff, and we, some of them had stories, and we read about their stories and learned their lives about what happened to them. It was like a great experience.
I automatically, when we first got there, I felt it's kind of weird talking about it, but I felt something there. I knew it was a big significance. Whitney Plantation was very informational, especially our tour guide. She gave us everything. She broke everything down. If she didn't know it, she was gonna go back and go look at it. And the fact that they had everything spread out so we can actually read the information ourselves, I really like that.
Respect your ancestors and pay attention, learn. This is one of the few serious experiences that we're gonna have. We're walking through a place where our people suffered.
I see someone by the name of Siri sold at 25 years old for only, what's the price? $105. On average in Louisiana, these enslaved individuals could be sold 6 to 8 times in one lifetime. Cut by its root, taken to sugar mills, which may be on the plantation, stripped of their juices, and then brought back to be boiled in the kettle.
I learned a lot about my history, my ancestors, and everything that they went through, all the torment, their work that they had to do, and just learning about my history and also other Black people's history.
Those were handmade by these enslaved. And it was constructed in 1790.
It was really interesting to learn about, to see what they endured, and just feel the emotions of how impactful it was.
Now, this museum opened in 1993, but we moved to this location right here. Now see, back in 1964, here in Selma, Alabama, Dallas County, where we're standing. Out of possible 14,000 Black people that live in this county, Dallas County, that was eligible to be registered voters. They was of legal age, they had good, clean, legal record. They could be registered voters. Out of possible 14,000, that was less than 300 Black people on the voting roll here in Dallas County. So the Black people in this county, they started talking, hey man, we need to get more Black people registered to vote. We need to get more Black people put on the voting roll. Now, that was an organization that was started in this county. That was started back in 1942. That was named the Dallas County Voters League. And see, the purpose of that organization was to get more Black people ready to vote, more Black people put on the voting roll. But now see, when that organization started back in 1942, Black people were afraid to join the organization. They didn't want to be targeted as troublemakers. They were scared to join the organization. So when the people started talking in 1964, we need to get more Black people ready to vote, we need to get more Black people put on the voting roll. What guys say, man, that's an organization that's already working on getting Black people ready to vote. The Dallas County Voters League. Let's go join the Voters League.
Yesterday we visited the Voting Rights Museum, and we talked about how African Americans protested for our rights so we can vote and so we can choose who's over our government and who's in control of our rights.
Mr. Walker explained to us that he was present
at 11 years old during when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of his foot soldiers, mainly his troops, walked, and how they was only doing this to show that you can mainly prove your point without being armed, but those police officers didn't want to believe them and beat them all. And they wanted to do this also to not only really get revenge, because they didn't really believe in that, most others did, but they didn't want to get revenge. They wanted to serve justice.
During the Civil War, Selma is one of the few southern cities that was not destroyed during the Civil War. Some of our buildings predate the Civil War. Our building was built in the 1830s, 1840s, and 1850s. And the reason Selma was not destroyed during the Civil War is right here in Selma is where they made the munitions for the Confederate Army.
Coming to a museum like this, we want the girls to learn the importance, number one, of voting, our voting rights. We want them to know the importance of family and the family composition. We want them to understand where slavery started, how it went, and how many families were torn apart. So we want them to understand the importance of their history and the importance of our rights that we now have as African Americans. The Legacy Museum was a very humbling experience. I had the pleasure of escorting 4 girls. They learned a lot, and it really opened up their eyes to our history, the historical struggle of slavery, and what slavery really looked like. The museum was very interactive. There were several rooms that really touched our heart and had us tearing up by seeing. One was the interactive of the kid, the young boy crying out, "Where's my mommy? Where's my mommy?" And there was also a room that had the heads of the slaves with the water raging in the back. And it showed the men being connected by the heads to other men, as well as women and children being separated. So it was a very humbling experience. We learned a lot.
My most important takeaway from today is just that, like, to really embrace my skin color, who I am as a person, to really just like look at myself in a positive light. Don't think that like my skin color like hinders me from anything, because it's not really like that anymore. Even though yes, there is still some racism and injustice today, I need to learn how to take a stand against that type of people or mindsets, and really just implement and let people know that I am Black and that this is me.